Welcome to Transformation at CIIS. Listen and be transformed. So, thank you. This is a special session of the inner work devoted to looking at our responsibility to move beyond land acknowledgement. The university has started a task force, and I want to welcome Patty, who is chairing the task force in the space. And we are just really grateful to have this moment, to have this conversation with Kim and Georgina Marie. And I'm going to read their bios quickly. And Georgina and Kim, I pulled these bios from your website. So hopefully it's all exactly the way that you want to be represented. Georgina Marie is a poet from Lakeport, Northern California, and the Lake County Poet Laureate for 2020 through 2024, the first Mexican-American and youngest to serve in this role for the county. In June 2021, she was selected as a Poets Laureate Fellow with the Academy of American Poets. She is the literary coordinator and Poetry Out Loud coordinator for the Lake County Arts Council, where she also serves as a board member and poet in residence for the Bloom. She has served as a co-editor for the Middletown Art Center's Resilience and Restore collections of written word, funded by the California Arts Council. As part of the Broken Nose Collective, an annual chapbook exchange, she created her first poetry chapbook, Finding the Roots of Water, in 2018, and her second chapbook, Tree Speak, in 2019. In 2020, she was an Ann G. Locascio Scholar for the Mendocino Coast Writers Conference and is now a member of their board of directors. Most recently, she was a Baraton Scholar for the Napa Valley Writers Conference. Her work has appeared in the Bloom, Noyo Review, and Poets.org, and has work forthcoming in Gulf Coast Journal and Colossus Freedom. She lives with her rescue dogs, Kenya and Michael, and her formerly feral cat, Misty, and is currently working on her full-length poetry manuscript. So I welcome Georgina Marie, and I will also introduce Kim Shuck. Kim Shuck embraces the fool and jester qualities of being a modern poet and artist. She is a devotee of San Francisco, whose hills she wanders nearly always on foot. Her maternal grandparents met at the Polish Hall on Shotwell, and she spent many hours with her mother and grandmother wandering the Mission Street Miracle Mile, taking books out of the Mission Branch Library and watching aquarium fish on the ground floor of what used to be Hales. She firmly believes in carrying a bubble wand, keys, pen, and notebook, and cat's cradle string at all times. Shuck is widely published in journals and anthologies and a couple of solo books. She enjoys volunteering in SFUSD elementary school classrooms to share her loves of origami, poetry, and basket making. In other words, math of various kinds. In 2019, Shuck was awarded an inaugural National Laureate Fellowship with the Academy of American Poets and the PEN Oakland Censorship Award. I'd also just like to add, and so just off the top and the cuff, is Kim has a book of poetry, Murdered or Missing, that I own, and I'm really grateful that she is bringing that body of work to this space as well. And so I welcome Georgina Marie and Kim Shuck and want to turn it over to you all.
So I will share some fairly new poems. So typically my work, and thank you everyone for being here listening to us today. Typically my work is very much surrounded in nature and grief, trauma, kind of the hard subjects. I've typically shied away from writing about race and my own difficulties with it. And so I've really tried to kind of squash that in my life. So lately I've been writing a lot about race and about my anger, with the idea of being erased or being talked over, which is kind of happening quite a bit the more I go into my role as a poet laureate or join board of directors for various organizations. So That's kind of what's on my mind, and I think this meeting comes at a good time in my own, personal dealing. So I'll read some of my newer work that kind of addresses some of those things. And Kim, you might have heard some of these since we just read together again recently. This first poem is called Erasure. I'm terrified of being erased, as in rainbow sidewalk chalk after a long awaited rain, as in girth of a sage bundle after overuse, trying to ward off 1,000 bad spirits, as in I can remember his pants down before I could grant consent, but no one wants to hear about it, as in flower essences dissolving on my tongue, as in quick written poem that may go nowhere, as in Texas won't teach my people's history, but no one wants to hear about it, as in you people make everything about race, as in I can speak eloquently, so I couldn't be brown, as in the partial animal skull I found by the creek bed, as in iris twilight bruising from the back of a hand but straight to the heart, as in you can't pronounce my last name, so I've erased it myself, as in melancholy blue of dusk fading, as in my heart is not in this, as in am I worthy, as in my voice is getting quieter, as in can you even hear me now? I break bread alone. I write several short sentences about trauma, then the world drops dead. An orange-bellied swallow prances beside my cold legs, oblivious to human pain. She's making poems with the shape of her breath in the weather. She breaks a worm from the ground. I break a line. Let's see. So this next one, I feel like I kind of come with a content warning in general in life, but just be aware that some of my poems can contain some sensitive content, such as this next one, because it does reference the Bloody Island Massacre, which took place here in, well, I'm in New York today, but I'm from Lake County, which is the land of the Pomo peoples. Archipelago. The only island I can think of is bloody. Young girl survivor of native genocide. Survival via Thule. Small town county refuses to change towns named after her family's murderers. If I owned an island, I'd call it Silver. Silver linings in isolation. Is it a sin for a brown girl to plan her own elegy? So many of her kind struck down daily without consent. Consent is an island America would never live on. My uterus is an island no one will touch, save for white Republicans in offices that cost more than my life. Call me an animal. Call me by my true name, race war child. In Mexicans, I believe. I pledge allegiance to compassion. Hope is a thing with feathered birds that aren't yet extinct. Dip me in lavender. Pour me honey and mint tea in a paper cup. Hope for a decent night's sleep. I think I have time to read 4 more. I know you said around 15 minutes. Okay, I kind of chose all my difficult ones to read this morning. Oh, thanks for listening. This next one is called Other. It does refer to my animals that are in my bio because I am a dog lover and I miss them dearly while I'm traveling. Other. Year after year, day after day, seconds after seconds. Oops, sorry, my screen disappeared. Canines multiply like rabbits in a springtime frenzy. 2 of them have found their way on my now saliva-lined sofa, sleeping soundly, sighing softly as they inhale safety and exhale their worry and the comfort of their stable home. She, named after an African country, Kenya, motherland, for her strength. He, named after a Seminole word, Miko, chief, ruler of my heart. Both breeds considered a threat. The Mexican-born German in her, the fight in him, all existing in me. My Mexican genes seen as a threat to America, home of the brave and the drug-sniffing Latinx. The underdogs we all are, human, animal. sorry, my screen keeps disappearing. I see these big magical beings as holy, like I see my brown skin, a reflection of earth, of soil, of how we are all multiplied in this world, how we start out as cells and blood, and there is no brownness or whiteness or fear in the beginning, how we all enter this world to a first breath as science, as magic, how some of us go from there to needing to be rescued, from being discarded as nothings, as others, how we then rescue each other. Thank you. So I am predominantly Mexican American and also of Mojave descent. And my dogs, if you didn't pick up on the breeds, one is a German Shepherd, though she was born in Mexico in Tijuana, and my other is a pit bull. So I feel like with all of the challenges we have with race, I definitely have some connection to my dogs through their own discrimination that they face with their breeds. So this next poem is called Say Truth. I say fresh cut zinnia and basil sit in tap water before me. I say maidenhair, lush and bottle green, sit on a wooden pedestal. I say bright, colorful plants adorn my home because I love variegation. And once I step outside, my own color is not always seen. Oxygenation depletes. Someone asks me, what are you? I don't say, what the hell do I look like? I'm human. I politely state I'm Mexican. I'm Mojave. I was born here, if you are wondering. I do not say, I'm on my own homeland. I am rooted in bloodshed. This land is my land. I say snake plant, spider plant, a piece of moss-covered oak wood. I say I am closer to these entities in spirit than other humans. I say I can list pretty things and still can't determine if what I say really matters. I'm leaving out the significance. The white page is distracting. Thank you. Let's see, so I think I'll read two more poems. And that last one, I believe I actually wrote in a workshop with Kim Shuck that she hosted. So thank you, Kim, for that. Okay, I thought my skin was visible. This is the next one. The sun careened off lakeside hills like a bronze mirror. I stepped outside to find myself after a woman argued how the only white she saw was on her jeans and not her skin color. That my brown skin is colorless to her. That there is no difference in the scales of racial treatment. I walked barefoot on a cold evening when the warmth of the sun rays quickly retreated on concrete landscaping to soft dirt to lush emerald green, starting to spring itself into a new season. How can you not see the difference in these colors? How can you not see that skin does not blend translucent? Mud gathers at the base of the old sodden gutter after years of weathering finally caused erosion, like my patience. When it is said brown is all the same, when it is said brown is below, is beneath, one day it will be when we are all beneath it, the only shared whiteness being the bones of our buried bodies. Thank you. So I'm gonna end with one last poem, which Kim, I know you've said in the past you enjoyed this poem, so I hope you enjoy it again. Bones for everyone. When I wake up, violet rays burn down their warmth on my arms. I feel it staggering, beads of heat on skin, slight burns on flesh. The temperature dwindles down to this, to me, I'm not the beautiful they want me to be. Reach your hands inside and find what you will, maybe geraniums and thick thighs. I'll leave the windows open for you. What else am I? A tongue made up of suns, another form of heat. Dig deeper and you'll find exoskeleton of a dictionary, cartilage of the verbose. I am all bones. White bones, oleander bones, toxic bones, mint bones, red bones. Bones from me to you, for me and you. Still bones, broken bones. What is in my bones isn't just empathy and the obvious shattering. It's something the foxes like to bite down on and run away with and throw into the pyre of granite rocks and bloodstones. Make a bone stew and you'll taste longing. You'll taste the lonely. You'll taste the red threads at the bottom of the pot that tie my wrists down to the ground, where eventually I will become it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I mean, each of those poems were, it's like beautiful, powerful, stirring, profound. They're just, conveyed the complexities and also kind of like the realities that we're faced with. And I think the work of this task force that we're putting together is so intricately woven into the poems that you read. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it, as well as our conversations that we've had, you and I. It's also a great pleasure always to read with Georgina Marie. And because of sort of the, I guess the rules of engagement for poetry readings, I frequently end up reading after her, which I'm going to say is because I'm older. But she's not somebody easy to follow. So just with that understanding, and also because she always reminds me with her words to do a trigger warning. Murdered Missing, as you might guess from the title of the book, is not easy work. So just know that walking in. I'm going to read some of those. I'm not going to leave you in that place. I'll read some other stuff afterwards, but we're going to start with Murdered and Missing. And for this first poem, I'm going to encourage you to try to hold your breath while I read it. Day 1. Somewhere, she's afraid right now. It hurts to be strangled. The body panics. She is silenced, might die of stroke, pulmonary edema. Arteries might tear. Her head feels as if it might explode. And this can take up to 5 minutes. You can go ahead and breathe now. So for 50 days, I wrote a poem a day about murdered and missing Indigenous women. And I feel like one of the great gifts that Black Lives Matter gave me personally was the ability to say to people, yeah, I know other people die. This is who I'm writing about. And I can't be more grateful for that. So I'm going to read some of these in order. Day 2, blamed for her own death, bled out in a motel bathtub. In court, the defendant's attorney made her as inhuman as possible, brought body parts into the court, her lifestyle, her identity at fault, as if the murder were a logical conclusion, as if her attacker had no choice, as if we were provocation in skin, another acceptable sacrifice. Day 3, shot, dead named, misgendered. Even the way they looked for you was a violence. Each detail a complex inaccuracy, targeted as acceptable loss. You're loved in your own name now. We see you. Day 4, communities mended over and over. Light story touches the ones literally missing. Patched gatherings, families stiff with protective stitching. Our lost are not gone just once, but every waking morning, every song without their voices, each time, every time, for all time. Day 5, you are our leading cause of death. Vanished. I can see myself going transparent. The car her daughter was last seen in was found in the lake, her child's body inside. Who has jurisdiction? Local police, reservation, police, FBI. We don't know if there was time. We don't know if there was waivers involved. In the city, when we come home, I called the. It was 3 days before they came to the house. Her disappearance was a choice. Shouldn't be hitchhiking. To afford a car, we need to work. No work in town, no public transit. Last seen standing by Highway 16 in the rain. Day 6. Mother in Manitoba looking at her daughter's picture on a billboard admires the smile. Hears her voice in dreams. When the snow thaws, they search for Jennifer, dig through the trash, a family event. Day 7, disappeared is not good enough. Will it take a generation of Indigenous art dedicated only to this? Will it take 2? Life-size sister sculptures for each woman torn from our communities, the empty cities of us. What is not made difficult is made illegal. If not marginalized, then poisoned. Pulled apart, unfinished weaving. You've not only come for the stories, you've come for our future. Day 8. You can have a mural, but not a real investigation. You can have protests, books. You can write every detail of their grieving lives, carry their pictures, whisper their sacred names into the winds of every season. Ask me one day, ask me as winter breaks in the small edge of the year. Ask me why you aren't trusted. So I think that's enough of that. So that's enough of that. I did 50 days because my family actually ended up doing an intervention and asking me to stop. I was getting very cranky. So those are not all the story of my child, who we lost about 10 years ago. That was an aggregate of a lot of stories of women who've lost their daughters. And while I was writing it, it's either 2 or 3. I think 2 people ended up dying and 1 person ended up disappearing that I know personally while in the 50 days that I was writing that. That's what we're talking about. So let's go to something else. This is called Memory and Water. Weather has broken, no rain for now, and a painful clarity here in the middle of the dark. There are those who speak of the end times, and there always are. They just keep coming. And yes, there are premonitions and events that draw us over the doorsteps into some new thing, something frightening the owl in the garden, some kind of sign past avian hunger, and this lack of news. We have nothing for one another, not one open palm or kindness left, just this tight breathing and a pretense that you'd think I'd be able to live with. There are these agates burned on an altar to a thing that remembers burnt stone offerings, that remembers what it is about. And a good thing too, because this is just something I was taught. I'm happy that it's understood somewhere, if not by me. Arts of Patience. We've been collecting stairs for years, stairs and the notion of stairs. We build with them like children do, like playing with blocks. We'll paint them with hard ideas, with generational hope, may yet reach somewhere else that we had in mind. We wanted so little in those days between bingo and collecting funerals. Houses subside and the screen door doesn't fit quite right. Hedge apples grow thorn and poison in the way that they have. We collect these things. Comb rivers and creeks, the margins of change for things like glass bottles to exchange for bait, catch other things we want to, and all of my heroes were good at filleting fish. And we were in the living room, gathering stairs in boxes, pressed flat in books, trying not to hide them, trying not to feel guilty about it. And I've got one more. It's called Bridges and Crossroads. WPA bridge over the Neosho. I stood on it in full flood with my dad, the water just kissing the underside of the boards, the river moans shivering up my legs. It stood until a flood licked out the footings. They replaced it, but when I dreamed the Neosho, the old bridge is there. They took the zinc out until they hit the daylight of 3rd Street. You could see the crack in the pavement. It looked like another pothole, and there was sunlight in the mine. Sunlight just there, with the dull ache of lead and the grim scowl of Jack. Those cottonmouths know some songs too. They know some fish songs. And once crossing Tar Creek Bridge, a grandma snake got hit by a pickup. In her last breaths, we drove up on her there like a burning library, her songs falling away in curls, taken by updrafts like smoke prayers near the water. She looked me in the heart and whispered just the one secret. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Listen and be transformed. Listen and be transformed. Listen and be transformed. Listen and be transformed.